Create file description. Creating Part 1 of the Elf Woman and Dragon story in third-person style. Path. MNT. User data. Outputs. Elf. Dragon story. Part 1.md. File. Text. Lily Hart moved through the alien forest with silent steps. Her long pointed ears twitched at every sound while her emerald eyes scanned between purple trees that reached toward 3 moons in the night sky. The weight of her bow pressed against her back, a comfort in this dangerous world. 3 small dragons followed behind. Her each was the size of a large dog, but they were young, still growing. Ember had scales that shimmered like rubies in the moonlight. Ruby, despite her name, had scales of deepest blue, and Spark changed colors with his mood, currently a nervous yellow, as they ventured deeper into unknown territory. 5 years had passed since human ships landed on this world, claiming it as New Eden. The humans never bothered to check if anyone already lived here. The elves had hidden at first, watching from the trees as metal buildings rose where ancient groves once stood. When humans discovered dragons living in the mountains, they declared them dangerous pests and began hunting them to extinction. Lily found these 3 as eggs hidden in their dead mothers. Nests she took them, raised them as her own. The last elf protecting the last dragons. Their survival linked in ways neither human nor elf had imagined. Tonight they hunted for food. Their supplies had grown low in their cave home, forcing Lily to venture closer to human settlements than she liked. The dragons could sense her tension. They moved carefully, staying close. A snap of a branch froze them all in place. Ember growled low in her throat. Ruby and Spark fanned out in a defensive position around Lily. Someone was nearby. Lily notched an arrow and waited. Elven eyes saw clearly in darkness, better than any human. A man lay on the ground, partially hidden by fallen leaves. Blood soaked his uniform. The patch on his shoulder marked him as part of the human military expansion team. His name badge read, Mason. She could leave him. The forest would claim him by morning. Just one less human to worry about. But something stopped her. Perhaps it was the way he looked at her, not with fear but wonder. Most humans thought elves were myths. Tales told by colonists driven mad by isolation. Lily lowered her bow. The dragons hissed their disapproval. Ruby even snapped her jaws. But Lily made her choice. She would help this human, the same way she had helped the dragons when they needed her. Mason tried to speak, but pain silenced him. A deep cut ran along his side. A hunting accident, perhaps. Or maybe one of the forest creatures humans had yet to learn were dangerous. Lily knelt beside him. The dragons stayed back, watching with suspicious eyes. Healing magic flowed from her fingertips, ancient elven power that humans would call impossible. She closed his wound enough to stop the bleeding. He would need more care but would survive the journey. Lily whistled a soft melody. The dragons understood it was time to bring this human to their home. Despite their obvious dislike, they obeyed. Lily fashioned a simple stretcher from branches and vines. With the dragon's help, she pulled Mason through the forest, careful to cover their tracks. Their cave lay hidden behind a waterfall, a place humans had never found. The main chamber was dry and warm, furnished with items Lily had either made or scavenged. Over the years, she had created a comfortable home here. A place of safety in a world growing more dangerous for her kind. She laid Mason on a bed of soft moss. The dragons curled up across the cave, keeping watchful eyes on the intruder. Lily prepared herbs and medicines, working through the night to heal him. Morning came with Mason still unconscious but breathing steadily. Lily left Ruby and Spark to watch him while she and Ember hunted for breakfast. The dragons could communicate with her not with words but with images and feelings. She knew they would alert her if the human woke. When she returned, Mason sat propped against the cave wall. Ruby and Spark had formed a barrier between him and the exit. Their scales reflected their mistrust. Ruby deep purple with agitation. Spark a wary orange. Mason looked pale, but his eyes followed Lily with curiosity. You saved me, he said, his voice hoarse. Why? Lily set down the fruits and roots she had gathered. Not all life is disposable, she answered. Her accent made the human words sound musical. I am not what your people would call a monster, Mason. Lowered his eyes. I never said you were, but you hunt dragons. Lily nodded toward her companions. You destroy forests. You take land that is not yours. We didn't know anyone lived here. Mason said, we were told this planet was uninhabited. Lily laughed without humor. You never looked hard enough. For 3 days she nursed him back to health. The dragons slowly grew accustomed to his presence, though they never fully relaxed. Mason learned about elf culture and their deep connection to the natural world. He watched amazed as Lily communicated with plants, making them grow or shrink at her command. On the 4th morning, Mason was strong enough to stand. He walked to the cave entrance, looking at the forest beyond. The dragons followed, keeping themselves between him and Lily, always protective. I need to return to my base, Mason said finally. They will be searching for me. Lily felt a strange sadness at these words. She had grown used to human company, something she never expected. Go, she said, take the north path. It will lead you to the river. Follow it west and you will find your settlement. Mason turned to her. I could help you. I could tell them about you. Show them elves and dragons aren't threats. Lily shook her head. They would come with weapons first. You have seen how they react to anything unknown. But Mason insisted. Things could change. People could learn. Before Lily could argue, a distant rumble shook the cave walls. The dragons hissed. Alert Ember ran to the entrance and returned, projecting images to Lily. Human machines. Many of them moving through the forest. They are looking for you, Lily said. They bring destruction. Mason looked torn between worlds. I never told them where to find me, I swear. The rumbling grew louder. Trees crashed in the distance. Lily grabbed her bow and few possessions. We must leave now. This place is no longer safe. The dragons sensed her fear. They gathered around her, ready to flee. But Mason blocked the exit. There is another way, he said. Trust me. Lily had survived by trusting no one but herself and her dragons. Yet something in Mason's eyes made her pause. The sincerity there, the determination. What other way, she asked. Let me talk to them. Mason said, let me try to make them understand. More trees fell closer now. Metal grinding against wood, human voices shouting commands. The dragons pressed against Lily, urging her to run. Mason held out his hand. Make your choice, elf, he said. But make it now. Lily looked at the human hand extended toward her. 5 years of hiding. 5 years of watching her world shrink as humans expanded. Would she run again? Or would she take a chance on something new? Something dangerous, but with the promise of change? The machines grew closer. Their time had run out. Create a file description. Creating part 2 of the Elf Woman and Dragon story in third-person style. Path, M&T, user data, outputs, Elf, Dragon story, part 22, MD. File, text. Lily stared at Mason's outstretched hand. Her dragons sensed her conflict. Ruby growled while Ember pushed against her legs, urging retreat. The human machines drew closer, their metal bodies crushing ancient trees. Human voices echoed through the forest, getting louder with each passing moment. Mason, please help us hide, she whispered. His face fell. I hoped you would trust me. Trust is earned, not given. Lily replied. We will watch what happens from safety. Then I will decide. Mason nodded reluctantly. Go, I will find a way to protect your forest somehow. The dragons did not wait for further discussion. Ember grabbed Lily's sleeve with gentle teeth, pulling her toward a hidden passage at the back of the cave. Ruby and Spark followed, covering their tracks with sweeps of their tails. Mason watched them disappear before turning to face his approaching comrades from a high ridge overlooking the clearing. Lily and her dragons observed the human activity below. Mason stood surrounded by soldiers, their weapons pointed at the cave entrance while large machines scanned the area. A woman, with short hair and commander insignia, questioned Mason intently. Lily could not hear their words, but the commander looked angry, pointing at Mason's healed wounds, then at the forest. Mason shook his head repeatedly. His stance remained firm even when the commander stepped closer, invading his space. The dragons huddled around Lily, sharing her concern. Spark had turned a deep blue, matching the sky above them, a sign of his worry. Ruby kept her eyes fixed on the soldiers below, ready to attack if any looked their way. Ember projected images to Lily, suggesting they move deeper into the mountains, away from humans forever. As darkness fell, the humans set up a perimeter around the cave. Bright lights illuminated the clearing, making it impossible for Lily to approach undetected. She would need to wait, observe, and plan their next move. The dragons curled around her, sharing warmth as the night air grew cold. Morning brought new activity. Human scientists replaced soldiers. They carried strange equipment into the cave. Lily watched as they emerged hours later, carrying samples of moss dragon scales that had been shed, and even strands of her silver hair left behind in their hasty departure. Her stomach tightened with fear. They would study these, learn about her kind, perhaps find ways to track them. Mason appeared again, arguing with the commander. The discussion grew heated until Mason stormed away, heading into the forest alone. Lily tracked his movement with her keen eyes. He walked directly toward their hiding spot, as if he knew exactly where they watched from. The dragons tensed, preparing to defend their elf mother. Lily placed calming hands on Ruby and Spark's heads. "Wait," she urged. "Let's hear what he has to say." Mason climbed the ridge, carefully stopping a respectful distance from them. "I knew you would be watching," he said softly. "How did you find us?" Lily demanded. "You told me elves prefer high ground with good visibility," Mason replied. "It wasn't hard to guess your position," Ember hissed suspiciously, but Lily silenced her with a gentle touch. "What happens now?" she asked. "They found evidence of you in the cave," Mason explained. "Commander Patel wants to capture a dragon for study. They believe dragons might be useful in mining operations. She also wants to find elves, learn about your healing abilities." Lily felt cold fear grip her heart. They would enslave her dragons, use them as tools. Her people would become specimens for study. "Tell me why I shouldn't take my family and disappear forever." Mason stepped closer. "The military has tracking technology now," he said. "They found traces of dragon fire residue. They can follow that signature anywhere on this planet. Running isn't an option anymore." Spark turned a frightened yellow. Ember growled low and dangerous. Ruby positioned herself between Lily and Mason, ready to attack. "What do you suggest then?" Lily asked, keeping her voice calm despite her racing heart. "I have a plan," Mason said, "but it means taking an enormous risk." Lily laughed bitterly. "We take risks every day, just by existing," True Mason acknowledged. "But this risk might end with peace instead of hiding." He explained his idea. Commander Patel respected scientific discovery above all else. If Lily would agree to a controlled meeting with selected scientists, share limited knowledge about her people and the dragons, it might convince the commander that cooperation would yield better results than capture. "It is naive," Lily said. "They will simply wait until they have enough information, then eliminate us. Not if we prove ourselves more valuable as allies than specimens," Mason argued. "There are factions among humans, some who believe in conservation and cooperation. They would support protecting your kind if they knew you existed." The dragons sensed Lily's uncertainty. They pressed against her, offering comfort through their mental connection. Ember showed her visions of freedom in distant mountains. Ruby reminded her of close calls with human hunters. Spark surprisingly projected an image of Lily speaking with humans peacefully. "What guarantee do I have?" Lily asked. "Only my word," Mason said. "And this?" He reached into his pocket, slowly revealing a small device. "This is a military communicator I can call for help if things go wrong. I can also use it to warn you of danger." Lily studied his face, looking for deception. Finding none, she made her decision. 2 days from now, I will meet with 3 scientists only. No weapons, no soldiers, no restraints. We meet at the old stone circle where the boundary stones mark ancient territory. Mason agreed. Before he could say more, shouts echoed from below. The commander had noticed his absence. A search party was forming. He needed to return quickly. Before leaving, he pressed the communicator into Lily's hand. "Learn to use this," he whispered. Then he descended the ridge, returning to his people. The next 2 days passed in tense preparation. Lily practiced with the communicator, learning its functions. The dragons trained together, strengthening their fire breath and defensive movements. Ruby remained convinced the meeting was a trap, while Ember began to see potential benefits. Spark fluctuated between optimism and terror, his scales changing from hopeful green to fearful gray. With each mood swing, on the morning of the meeting, Lily dressed in her finest clothes, handmade from forest materials. She wore symbols of elven royalty. A circlet of silver leaves marked her as a keeper of dragon lore pouches. Of healing herbs hung at her waist, a gesture of peace, offering knowledge instead of weapons. The dragons she adorned with ceremonial markings painted in natural dyes, signifying their status as free beings, not pets or possessions. They arrived at the stone circle before dawn. Lily positioned Ruby and Spark on high rocks overlooking the meeting place. Ember stayed by her side. The most diplomatic of the three, waiting felt like an eternity. The sun crested the mountains when Mason appeared and led 3 humans, 2 women and 1 man. Their faces showed mixtures of disbelief, wonder, and scientific curiosity. They carried no visible weapons, though Lily suspected hidden ones. They stopped at the edge of the circle, respecting the boundary she had established. Mason stepped forward alone. "Lily," he said, "these are our top xenobiologists, Dr. Lin, Dr. Novak, and Dr. Rivera. They have agreed to your terms. Commander Patel is monitoring from base camp, but will not interfere." Lily stood tall, her elven heritage making her nearly a head taller than the humans I am. Lily Hart, last keeper of the dragon lore, last princess of the elven forest folk. This is Ember, her dragon companion. The scientists stared, transfixed by the sight of elf and dragon standing together. Dr. Lin, a woman with kind eyes, stepped forward. "First, I never believed the rumors," she said. "Your existence changes everything. We thought we knew about this planet." Ember projected an image to Lily. The dragon sensed genuine awe from these humans, not the calculating assessment she had expected from the military. Perhaps Mason had chosen well. "Show them." Lily whispered to Ember. The dragon opened her mouth. A small controlled flame emerged, dancing in patterns too precise to be natural. The scientists gasped as the flame formed shape symbols of the ancient elven language, spelling out a greeting. 1 meeting became 2, then 3. Within a week, Lily found herself explaining elven history, plant medicine, and dragon behavior to the fascinated scientists. They recorded everything, promising the knowledge would be used to protect, not exploit. In return, they shared information about human culture, their homeworld, and technology that might benefit the forest. Commander Patel eventually attended a meeting. Her hard eyes softened slightly, watching Ruby and Spark play with Dr. Rivera. The military leader realized healthy dragons cooperating willingly could achieve more than captured ones ever would. A fragile trust began to form, but trust built over days could break in seconds. 1 wrong move from either side would shatter it completely. The future remained uncertain, balanced on the edge of hope and caution. Mason stood between worlds, no longer fully trusted by either, yet essential to both. The dragons sensed change coming. Their scales shifted colors, reflecting an unsettled future. Ember pressed close to Lily one night, projecting a vision. A human settlement and elven forest existing side by side. Dragons flying freely between them. Was it prophecy or merely hope? Only time would tell. Create file description. Creating part 3 of the Elf Woman and Dragon story in third-person style. Path. MNT user data. Outputs Elf Dragon Story Part 3.md. File text. 1 month passed since the first meeting at the stone circle. Lily sat on a fallen log, watching Ember chase butterflies through tall grass. The meeting area had become a neutral zone where humans and the last elf could interact without fear. Ruby and Spark lounged nearby, soaking up sunlight, their scales shimmering with contentment. Something Lily hadn't seen in years. A twig snapped, announcing Mason's arrival. He no longer wore a military uniform, having resigned his commission to work as liaison between his people and Lily. The scientists followed behind, carrying recording equipment and small gifts, offerings of respect that had become tradition. "Good morning, Lily," Mason called, his smile genuine. The dragons lifted their heads, acknowledging him with soft chirps. They had grown to tolerate most humans, but showed special acceptance. Mason Dr. Lin approached, first offering Lily a small potted plant from Earth. "I thought you might find this interesting," she said. "It's called lavender. Healing properties." Lily accepted the gift, her fingers brushing the purple flowers she could feel. Its energy, its potential. Already her mind cataloged ways to incorporate this new plant into her medicines. "Thank you," she said. The dragons gathered around, curious, sniffing the strange scent. The day's routine began, Lily demonstrating elven magic, coaxing plants to grow, sharing knowledge of forest remedies. The scientists documenting everything with respectful attention. Mason translating cultural concepts that had no direct human equivalent. The dragons showing off their unique abilities. Ruby creating ice crystals with her breath, Ember controlling fire with precision, Spark changing colors to match any object. These exchanges had become valuable to both sides. Humans learned sustainable ways to live on this planet, while Lily gained protection for the remaining wild spaces. But today felt different. A tension hung in the air. Mason seemed distracted, checking his communicator frequently. The scientists exchanged nervous glances when they thought Lily wasn't looking. "What troubles?" Lily asked. Finally, Mason sighed. "Commander Patel has been replaced. Military command sent someone new. General Ward arrives tomorrow. He wants the dragons." The peaceful moment shattered. Ember growled. Sensing Lily's alarm, Ruby and Spark moved closer, forming a protective circle. "I thought we had an agreement," Lily said, her voice cold. "We do." Mason replied quickly. "But General Ward doesn't feel bound by it. He sees dragonfire as potential weapons technology. The research station has new orders to capture and study rather than observe and learn." Lily's hand moved to her bow. The dragon scales shifted to combat colors, bright reds and oranges signaling their readiness to fight. Dr. Lin stepped forward, hands raised. "Please," she said. "We don't agree. With these orders, most of us scientists will refuse to participate." "But you cannot stop your military," Lily stated. "No," Mason admitted. "But we can warn you, give you time for what?" "To run again." Lily felt old anger rising. Dragons are not weapons. They are intelligent beings, the last of their kind. Your general would enslave them. Dr. Novak, the quiet one who rarely spoke, cleared his throat. "There is another option," he said. "Come to our settlement as honored guests. Not specimens under diplomatic protection." Lily laughed bitterly. "A cage with nicer bars is still a cage. It's not perfect," Mason acknowledged. "But it buys us time to change minds, show more people the truth about elves and dragons, like these scientists have learned." The dragons projected their thoughts to Lily. Images of fire and flight, of freedom in the deep mountains balanced against visions of human weapons searching endless pursuit. Ruby favored immediate retreat. Ember surprisingly suggested considering the offer. Spark, as always, remained torn. "I need to think," Lily said finally. "Tomorrow I will give my answer." The scientists packed their equipment, respecting her need for space. Mason lingered. "Can I stay?" he asked. "I want you to understand everything at stake." The elf nodded. The dragons settled around them as Mason explained the political situation. The human colony faced pressure from Earth to produce results, resources, scientific discoveries. The military faction saw dragons as assets, while conservation groups argued for protection of native species. The balance of power had shifted with General Ward's appointment. As night fell, they sat beside a small fire. The dragons slept nearby, exhausted from the stress of the day. Lily studied Mason's face in the flickering light. "Why do you help us?" she asked. "You risk much." Mason stared into the flames for a long moment. He remained silent. When my ship first landed here, I saw something, he said finally. A dragon flying high above the mountains. So beautiful, so free, I told others, but they laughed. Called it a bird or atmosphere phenomenon. I knew what I saw. He looked at the sleeping dragons. That moment changed me, made me question everything we were doing here. Lily felt something shift between them, understanding perhaps or something. Deeper, more complicated. You should return to your settlement, she said softly. Your absence will be noticed. Mason nodded, rising reluctantly. Whatever you decide, he said, I will stand with you. After he left, Lily sat awake, watching the moons cross the sky. The dragon sensed her troubled mind. Ember woke first, coming to rest her head in Lily's lap. Ruby and Spark soon joined them. The 4 last survivors of their kinds shared silent communion through the night. Dawn brought clarity. The elven princess had made her decision. Mason waited at the stone circle alone. The scientists had been recalled to base pending General Ward's arrival. When Lily emerged from the forest, his relief was visible. The dragons followed, each carrying small bundles of lilies. Most precious possessions, we will come to your settlement, Lily announced. But not as guests nor specimens. We come as ambassadors of the forest. The dragons represent their species as I represent mine. We will speak to your leaders as equals. Mason bowed his head. Thank you, he said. Their journey to the human settlement took most of the day. The dragons grew increasingly nervous as buildings came into view, metal structures angular and unnatural compared to the organic curves of the forest sharp. Alien smells assaulted their senses. They pressed closer to Lily, drawing comfort from her calm presence. Humans stopped to stare as Mason led them through the streets. Some showed fear, others fascination. Children pointed excitedly at the dragons. Parents pulled them back, whispering warnings. Lily held her head high, ignoring the stares. This was part of her plan. Let them see. We are real, not myths or monsters. The science building stood at the settlement center. A temporary office had been prepared for Lily. Large windows overlooked the forest beyond the human boundaries. A thoughtful touch she appreciated. The dragons explored the space, suspiciously sniffing unfamiliar objects. Mason explained the security measures in place. General, Ward could not simply seize them without violating colonial law. They had basic rights as diplomatic visitors, but laws can be changed. Lily noted. True, Mason admitted, but changing them takes time. And every day more people meet you, more minds change. That evening, a delegation of settlement leaders arrived to welcome them formally. Speeches were made, promises exchanged. The dragons performed a traditional greeting dance, fire and ice swirling together in beautiful patterns. The humans applauded, amazed. Lily sensed genuine appreciation from some, though. Others calculated the military applications. Later, alone with her dragons, Lily gazed out at the stars visible through the large windows. What have we begun? She whispered. Ember projected reassurance. Ruby remained skeptical. Spark showed curiosity about their new surroundings. All 3 shared one feeling stronger than the rest. They trusted Lily to guide them through whatever came next. Morning brought General Ward. A tall human with cold eyes and perfect posture. He observed Lily and the dragons from across the room. His assessment obvious, cataloging strengths, weaknesses, potential uses. I expected something more primitive. He said, his voice like stone. Impressive specimens. We are not specimens, Lily replied. We are delegates. The general smiled without warmth. Of course, how diplomatic of Mason to arrange this cultural exchange. Mason stepped forward, moving slightly between the general and Lily. The dragons tensed, sensing the confrontation. Lily placed a calming hand on Ember's head. The situation required patience, not fire. General Ward continued his tour of the facility, stopping to examine the dragons more closely. Ruby hissed softly, a warning. Spark turned a defensive. Red Ember maintained a dignified silence. Extraordinary fire capabilities, the general commented. I look forward to comprehensive testing. You misunderstand. Lily said, her voice cool like forest shadows. They will demonstrate what they choose. Nothing more. The general raised An eyebrow. This arrangement seems rather one-sided. What do we gain from such limited access? Knowledge, Mason interjected. Cooperation. Understanding of this planet that would take decades to acquire otherwise. Ward considered this, nodding slowly. Very well, he said too easily. We will proceed with cultural exchange for now. When he left, the tension in the room eased but did not disappear. Lily exchanged glances with Mason. He does not intend to honor any agreement, she stated. No, Mason admitted. But neither did you. Lily smiled for the first time that day. You begin to understand elven ways. Create the file description. Creating Part 4 of the Elf Woman and Dragon story in third-person style. Path. M&T, user data. Outputs. Elf Dragon story. Part 4.md file. Text. 2 weeks passed in the human settlement. Each day brought new challenges and small victories. Lily established a routine morning meetings with scientists, afternoon demonstrations of elven healing arts, evening meals with settlement leaders. Ruby, Ember, and Spark became familiar sights soaring above buildings under Lily's watchful eye. Children no longer ran in fear, instead waving excitedly when dragons passed overhead. General Ward maintained his distance, observing, documenting. His cold eyes followed their movements, but direct interference remained absent. For now, Mason explained, military procedure regulations paperwork that delayed whatever plans the general harbored. Lily understood the temporary nature of this protection, using the time to build alliances with influential humans. Dr. Lin had become their strongest advocate. Her scientific reports emphasized the dragon's intelligence, their complex social structure, their essential role in the planet's ecosystem. She argued passionately against any testing that the dragons did not volunteer for. Most scientists supported her position today. Lily sat in the settlement's garden area, a space designed to grow earth plants but now incorporating native species as well. The dragons lounged nearby. Ruby created small ice crystals that children collected with delighted laughter. Spark entertained onlookers by matching his scale color to various objects. Ember maintained a dignified distance, still the most cautious around humans. Mason approached, carrying a tablet computer. His face troubled. Lily recognized the expression. Bad news, you should see this, he said, handing her the device. The screen showed images of forest clearing many miles from the settlement. Heavy machines uprooted ancient trees. Scanning equipment searched underground for mineral deposits. All happening in protected territory. The very land promised to remain untouched. They promised, Lily whispered, her voice tight with anger. The dragons sensed her emotions. Their play stopped immediately. They moved to her side, bodies tense. Ready for action. Ward authorized it this morning, Mason explained. They found rare earth elements essential for advanced technology. Lily stood abruptly. The dragons formed a protective circle around her. The children watching stepped back, sensing the shift in mood. What good are your agreements, she demanded, if they mean nothing? Mason looked ashamed. I didn't know, I swear. I only found out because Dr. Lin has friends in the resource department. Dr. Lin arrived moments later, her face equally troubled. I brought this, she said, offering Lily a small data drive. This contains evidence Ward is violating colonial regulations. The land clearing wasn't approved by council. Lily took the small device. It means nothing if none will act to stop it. Dr. Lin squared her shoulders. I have submitted formal complaints. So have 15 other senior scientists. We need time for the process to work. Time. Lily laughed bitterly. My forest has no time. Your machines destroy centuries of growth in minutes. Mason stepped closer, lowering his voice. What are you planning? He asked, recognizing the dangerous glint in her eyes. The elf princess straightened to her full height. I will defend what is mine, she stated. Simply that. Before anyone could respond, alarms blared throughout the settlement. Red lights flashed, emergency containment protocols initiated. Mason grabbed Lily's arm, pulling her toward the science building. The dragons hissed, confused by the sudden chaos. General Ward broadcast came through all communication systems. Dangerous forest creatures approaching northern perimeter. All civilians returned to secure locations. Defense teams to positions Lily froze. Forest creatures never approached human settlements. The dragons projected confusion. No herds were migrating this season. No predators would risk human weapons. It's a lie, she realized. It's a distraction. Mason nodded grimly. Or a trap. They reached the science building, finding it locked down. Dr. Lin pressed her security badge against the scanner. Nothing happened. Her access denied Mason. Tried his the same result, they're isolating you, Dr. Lin said, her voice trembling. Cutting you off from allies. The dragon sensed danger. Ember shot a small flame into the air, signaling readiness. Ruby hissed, scanning for threats. Spark turned combat. Red, his usual uncertainty replaced by determination. We need to leave, Lily stated. This has gone too far. Dr. Lin looked torn between duty and friendship. Go, she urged finally. I will try to reach the settlement council. Expose wards. Actions. Settlement. Security forces appeared at the end of the street. Their weapons raised, Mason stepped in front of Lily and the dragons, hands raised. Please, he called. They are not threats. The soldiers advanced, ignoring his words, their focus entirely on the dragons. Behind them, a transport vehicle approached, large enough to cage 3 dragon-sized creatures. The trap revealed itself clearly. Now, Lily whispered ancient elven words. The dragons understood instantly. A practiced escape plan, Ember launched skyward. Creating a smokescreen with carefully controlled flame, Ruby targeted the ground before the soldiers. Her ice breath creating a slippery surface. Spark released a blinding flash of color. Disorienting anyone looking directly at him, Mason grabbed. Lily's hand run, he urged, pulling her toward the settlement's edge. They fled through back alleys, avoiding main streets. The dragons provided cover from above. Mason guided them toward a maintenance exit, a small gate used by repair crews. The dragons would need to fly over the perimeter wall. Lily and Mason would slip through the gate if his access still worked. Alarms continued blaring. Announcements warned of dangerous forest creatures and escaped diplomatic guests in the same message painting. Lily and her dragons as threats. Soldiers searched building to building, their movements visible from rooftops where the group briefly hid. The maintenance gate appeared ahead. Unguarded during the confusion, Mason pressed his badge against the scanner, holding his breath. The light remained red. Access denied. Lily touched the control panel. Elven magic flowed through her fingertips into human technology. Ancient power meeting, modern security. The light flickered, then turned green. The gate unlocked beyond. The gate forest beckoned safety in familiar trees. The dragons circled overhead, signaling the route clear. Mason hesitated at the threshold. You can't come back, he warned. If you leave like this, I know, Lily replied. Our experiment in diplomacy has failed. Mason looked toward the settlement, then back at Lily. Come with me, he said suddenly. Lily stared at him, surprised. You would leave your people? They stopped being my people when they broke their word, Mason said. I can't be part of this. The dragons projected. Images to Lily showing acceptance of Mason, cautious but real. She studied his face, seeing determination and something else. Something that had grown between them during these weeks of working together. Soldiers' voices approached, drawing closer. Decision. Time, Mason pressed. Come with you, Lily mused. The last elf and the first human to choose dragons over his own kind. The forest spirits would find it amusing. She extended her hand. Mason took it, relief and joy crossing his features. Together they slipped. Through the gate, dragons soaring above them. They disappeared into the tree line as soldiers reached the perimeter, too late to stop their escape. For 3 days they traveled deep into the forest away from human settlements. The dragons led the way, remembering old paths to places humans had never found. Mason struggled with the rough terrain, his human body not designed for forest travel like elven physiology. But determination pushed him forward. On the 4th day they reached their destination, ancient elven ruins hidden by overgrown plants and protective magic. A place Lily had avoided for years. Too many memories of her lost people. Now it would become sanctuary. Mason stared in wonder at the graceful stone structures, the architecture, unlike anything human, curved and flowing as if grown rather than built. "This was your home?" he asked. Lily nodded. "One of many once we had cities throughout the forest, before your kind came." The dragons explored the ruins, comfortable in this place of elven history. Ember cleared debris with careful fire. Ruby preserved ancient texts with gentle ice coating. Spark illuminated dark corners with his glowing scales, each contributing to restoring the sanctuary. That night, they sat beside a small fire. Mason asked the question that had hung between them since their escape. "What happens now?" Lily looked toward the stars. The same stars that had guided human ships to this world. "We resist," she said simply. "We protect what remains. We show humans another way to exist on this planet." "You make it sound simple," Mason said. The elf smiled. "It is not. But it is necessary. The dragons need defenders. This forest needs protectors. If humans will not honor agreements, they must learn consequences. Consequences." Mason frowned. "What do you mean?" Before Lily could answer, Ruby projected urgent warning images. Human aircraft approaching fast and silent. New technology designed for forest penetration. "They found us already," Mason whispered. How Lily touched the pouch at her waist. The data drive Dr. Lin had given her. They must have tracked it. The humans had played their own deception, Lily realized. The drive meant to help them had betrayed their location. The dragons gathered ready to flee again. Weariness showed in their movements. Too much running. Too little rest. No more running. Lily decided, standing tall. This ancient place has defenses long forgotten. It is time to awaken them. She placed her hands on the central stone of the ruins, whispering words in the old elven tongue. Lights flickered beneath the moss-covered surface. Ancient magic responding to the voice of elven royalty. The entire clearing hummed with power dormant for. Create file description. Creating Part 5 of the Elf Woman and Dragon story in third-person style. Path. MNT user data. Outputs Elf. Dragon story. Part 5 MD. File. Text. Morning sunlight filtered through ancient trees illuminating the elven ruins. The magical barrier shimmered faintly, visible only when light struck at certain angles. Lily stood on a high balcony watching human aircraft circle beyond the protective dome. Their sensors useless against elven magic. Mason joined her, his human eyes squinting to see what elven sight detected clearly. "They will bring ground forces next," he said. "General Ward won't give up easily." Lily nodded. "Neither will we." The dragons patrolled the perimeter, Ember soaring high, watching for movement in the forest. Ruby strengthening weak points in the barrier with her ice breath. Spark changing colors to blend with trees serving as camouflaged lookout. All three had grown stronger since arriving at the sanctuary. Ancient magic awakening dormant abilities. In their dragon blood inside the ruins, Mason and Lily had discovered much scrolls detailing forgotten elven history, records of dragon migrations, maps showing sacred sites throughout the forest. Most importantly, they found evidence that other elves might have survived. The writing spoke of hidden enclaves deep in mountains far from human settlements, too dangerous to reach before. Now essential to find our priority should be contacting these other elven groups. Mason said, "If they exist, we need their help." Lily traced the ancient map with her fingertips. "These mountains lie beyond the great desert," she explained. "No dragon could fly so far without rest. No elf could cross such terrain alone. But together, Mason suggested, human technology combined with elven magic and dragon strength, we could make the journey." Before Lily could respond, Spark sent an urgent message. Human soldiers approaching on foot, many with heavy weapons. The confrontation they had prepared for had arrived. Lily activated the sanctuary's inner defenses. Stone guardians took positions at critical entry points. Plants responded to elven commands, growing thorns and poisonous spores. The dragons returned, taking defensive positions around the central courtyard. Mason checked the limited weapons they had acquired during their escape. Preparations complete, they waited. General Ward himself led the approaching forces. His voice, amplified by technology, echoed through the forest. "We know you're in there," he called. "This is your only warning. Surrender the dragons and the elf woman will receive fair treatment." Lily stepped onto the outer wall visible to the human forces. "I am Lily Hart, last princess of the elven forest folk. These dragons are under my protection. This sanctuary stands on sacred ground. Your presence here violates ancient pacts." Ward laughed. "Treaties with extinct species mean nothing," he said. "These ruins and everything in them, including those creatures, belong to the human colony, by right of settlement." Mason appeared beside Lily. "You have no authority here, General," he shouted. "Colonial law protects indigenous sites. The Settlement Council never approved this military action." Ward's expression hardened at the sight of Mason. "Traitor." He spat. "Working with aliens. Against your own kind. They are not aliens." Mason replied. "They were here first. We are the invaders." The general signaled his troops to advance. "Attack positions," he ordered. "Capture the dragons alive if possible. The elf and the traitor are expendable." Soldiers moved forward, raising weapons. Lily raised her hand, sending ancient words of power into the forest. The first line of defense activated. Roots erupted from the ground, entangling human legs. Branches swung down, capturing arms and weapons. The forest itself responded to elven command. The trapped soldiers struggled, firing wildly. The sanctuary barrier absorbed the impacts. Magical energy strengthening with each attack. Ward ordered his remaining forces to fall back, regroup. Their initial assault thwarted by defenses they hadn't expected. Lily turned to Mason. "That will not hold them long," she said. "These are only the outer defenses designed to warn, not destroy." Mason nodded. "We need to contact Dr. Lin and the council. Tell them what Ward is doing. It's our best chance to stop this without bloodshed." Ember projected agreement, but communication devices couldn't penetrate the magical barrier. The dragons offered another solution. Ruby would carry messages. Her ice breath could preserve written words, while her speed would ensure quick delivery. Lily wrote quickly, explaining their situation, detailing Ward's violations of colonial law. Mason added his testimony, naming witnesses who could verify their claims. Ruby took the scroll secured in a protective case, flying high above the forest, avoiding human aircraft. Her blue scales blending with the sky, a natural camouflage. With Ruby gone, the sanctuary felt vulnerable. Ember and Spark doubled their vigilance. The elven princess and the human scientist prepared for the next assault. They didn't wait. Longward returned with reinforcements, heavy weapons designed to break through barriers, technology specifically engineered to counter unknown defenses. This time they brought a scientist Lily recognized, Dr. Mercer, the only researcher who had supported Ward's position on dragon experimentation. "They have scanning equipment," Mason warned. "They're looking for weaknesses in the barrier." Lily closed her eyes, connecting with the ancient magic flowing through the sanctuary. There she found something unexpected. The ruins remembered. They held memories of previous attacks, previous defenses. The knowledge of generations of elven defenders flowed into her mind, opening pathways to power she hadn't known existed. "Need time," she told Mason. "Can you distract them?" Mason thought quickly, then approached the wall with a communication device. "General Ward," he called. "I want to negotiate." Ward paused his advance, suspicious but willing to listen while his equipment continued scanning. "What terms could you possibly offer?" he asked. "Information." Mason replied, "I've been inside this structure studying it. There's technology here beyond anything humans have developed. I can tell you how to bypass certain defenses," Spark hissed, disapprovingly, but Lily understood. Mason's strategy buy time appeared to betray then mislead. She continued her communion with the sanctuary, finding its heart. The central power source. A crystal chamber beneath the main courtyard. There the magic was. Strongest, most pure. Ward engaged Mason in false negotiations, demanding details, asking questions. The human scientist provided convincing half-truths and strategic misinformation, while Lily descended to the crystal chamber. The dragons, Ember and Spark, followed, sensing the importance of this moment. The chamber glowed with soft blue light. Crystals lined the walls, each pulsing with energy at the center, a formation larger than the others. The heart of the sanctuary. Lily approached reverently, placing her hands on the central crystal. Ancient words flowed from her memory, words she had never learned yet, somehow new. The magic responded, recognizing elven royalty. The crystals pulsed brighter, their rhythm matching Lily's heartbeat. Above ground, Ward lost patience with Mason's delaying tactics. "Enough games," he shouted. "Commence attack." Weapons fired against the barrier. The sanctuary shuddered. Magic strained against technology. The protection held but weakened. With each impact, the strain increased. Mason ran to the courtyard shouting warning. "Lily, we can't hold them much longer." In the crystal chamber, Lily stood transformed. Energy flowed through her body, her elven heritage fully awakened. The dragons watched in awe as she began to glow with the same light as the crystals. The sanctuary recognized its defender. The last princess had become its conduit. Lily opened her eyes, now shining with ancient power. "The sanctuary has chosen," she said, her voice echoing with authority. "It offers a choice." She ascended to the courtyard. Mason stared at her transformation, speechless. The barrier around the sanctuary began to change, not weakening but transforming. The dome expanded, growing outward, pushing back the human forces. Ward shouted orders to stand ground, but his soldiers retreated, fearful of the advancing magic. The barrier continued expanding, a mile, 2 miles. The entire forest glowed with elven light. Ward watched helpless as his forces scattered. The barrier finally stopped its expansion, encompassing a vast territory of forest. All human technology within its boundaries ceased functioning. Weapons became useless. Metal aircraft fell from sky, gently lowered by unseen force. Lily stood at the sanctuary's entrance, the dragons beside her, Mason at her side. Together they watched as Ward approached alone, his anger visible even at distance. "What have you done?" he demanded. "Protected what is ours," Lily replied. "The sanctuary has awakened. It remembers its purpose. To defend the forest and its inhabitants. The barrier will remain." Ward asked, his scientific mind already calculating possibilities. For generations, Lily confirmed, these lands are now under elven protection. No human may enter with weapons or harmful intent. Those who seek knowledge with respect may be permitted. Those who seek to destroy will be rejected. Ward studied the barrier, his ambition clearly considering ways to penetrate it. "You've declared war on the human settlement." He said, "This won't end here." "Perhaps not," Lily agreed. "But it will not end as you expect either." A shadow passed overhead. Ruby returned, accompanied by something unexpected. A large transport ship bearing settlement council markings. It landed in the clearing outside the barrier. Dr. Lin emerged, followed by council members. They approached cautiously, studying the transformed forest. Lily allowed the barrier to admit them. The dragons watched, wary but hopeful. Mason stepped forward, greeting his former colleagues. The council members stared, in wonder at the elven princess glowing faintly with crystal energy.